passe. Super, l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
Hello and welcome to the Uninformed Handball Hour. It's Alex Kudesh here, joined by Chris O'Reilly, and we've got a very special guest for this episode. The biggest man in handball with a heart of gold, Dainis Kristopans, joined Chris O'Reilly for an interview which was really, really interesting because Melsungen, of course, a team that has been one of the stories of the season, both in the Bundesliga and now going into the European League Final Four as well. And Kristopans has been a mainstay in this team and just had an incredible career. So really excited to speak to him. But how are you doing, Chris?
Good, Alex. Good to be chatting to you now as we look forward to the European League finals this weekend and speaking to you post-surgery as well. So still a little bit stuck in place, but all my body parts are now stuck together again. So that's a positive. We're taking the positives at the moment and speaking to Dainis today, quite inspiring as well. As you mentioned, he's had one hell of a career up until now. The path less taken, I would say, in his case.
I just want to say that Achilles injuries seem to be a huge part of my life at the moment. First, you, big one. Then obviously Jason Tatum goes down for the Boston Celtics and really puts that whole franchise into question for next season. They get knocked out of the playoffs. The buzz is ruined in my city that I live in at the moment. And then I was in work and one of my closest colleagues comes in a boot. And he's like, oh yeah, I was playing volleyball and ruptured my Achilles. So within the space of 2 weeks, I've had three people close to me, including Jason Tatum, go down with an Achilles injury.
And Jakob Holm as well.
Jakob Holm. Wow.
Playing for Denmark. I mean, a man close to all of our hearts. I don't know. Widespread at the moment. I was wondering for me if it was just a case of kind of like a kind of recency bias or like that kind of thing where once you buy something or something happens to you, you see it everywhere. And now I'm just seeing Achilles ruptures everywhere. So it's not the thing you want to be seeing happening everywhere. So let's all calm down here. And
someone needs to do a study on pollen count and Achilles ruptures, the sinuses affecting the tendons and something like that this time of year.
The unknown side effects. I'm not allergic to pollen, but hey, maybe it's causing some other damage in the body. But yeah. So hopefully we won't have too much Achilles injuries from now until the end of the season. It's almost over, folks. Everyone hold on strong. And we'll speak first of all, I think, a little bit about the Bundesliga, one of the two competitions that Dainis is battling away in. And the games are literally coming in thick and fast. Like the regular schedule seems to have gone out the window, Alex. There's like a big match every 2 or 3 days at the moment. I'm commentating this evening in Magdeburg Eisenach. So it's all systems go.
And it is Magdeburg. So from the match over the weekend where Magdeburg beat Hannover Bergdorf, Magdeburg are now playing a game every 3 days until the end of the season. Catching up on those couple of games in hand, the first of which, as you say, they're trying to do it against Eisenach. And well and truly still in the league. They're currently 5 points back, but 2 games to go. And poor Hannover Bergdorf have now well and truly fallen out of the race. We talked about them being kingmakers, but right now they don't seem to be wielding any swords to anoint a king, as they in the last kind of 5 games have lost to Füchse, Melsungen and Magdeburg. So all 3 of those top sides getting through that challenge. And for Bergdorf, just a point. I think they've just run out of steam with their squad, and Renners Ustjens has well and truly run out of steam after a tumultuous 18 months of non-stop handball, where he burst on the scene in the Olympics. So I think I've never seen a man who needs a break more than the young right back for Hannover Burgdorf. 23 years old, but still, it takes a lot out of you, this handball calendar.
Yeah, I mean, he has quite literally been going now for like a year and a half, it seems, and thinking about his breakthrough at the Euro back in January 2024. There was a lot of chat on our Discord during the Hannover versus Melsungen game, which was a massive one, and it seemed like even though Hannover had Renners completely misfiring, I think he scored like 1 from 8 or something in the end, or 2 from 9, but that's
his stat line these days. The 2 from 9 is his fixed rate at the moment.
It's tough, and it's a big drop off for a team that has been not hanging on. I mean, they've been in the lead for a lot of this season, but it was like with a team like Melsungen as well, Hannover, it's like if one major chunk goes wrong and they can't cover for that, then things are going to fall apart. And Magdeburg, Melsungen, and Berlin were all looking at the matches against the other teams, hoping they would do them a favor and just like beat one of them, but they weren't able to do it. I think the Melsungen game was probably the best chance for them in that regard to get a victory. They were at home. They took the lead right at the beginning of the second half. Yeah, Melsungen looked in trouble for a little bit, but then up stepped Adam Morawski, channeling his inner Nebojša Simic to come and save the day for them. And Melsungen just about kind of getting their squad back to a chunky enough level, like getting some injured players back, not all of them by any means, but getting enough of them to actually feel like they have a squad at the moment for the run-in.
It's really remarkable what Melsungen are doing, because a few weeks back I almost wrote them off in the championship, in the Bundesliga. With the first, Aaron Mensing, it seemed like they were lacking the firepower.
Also Achilles, man.
It seemed like they were lacking the firepower, but they figured it out a little bit on the offensive end. Elver Jonsson stepping up really, really well in that case. But then when the Nebojša Simic goes down, it's like, okay, we're done here. This is a great run. You've done well, but your talismanic goalkeeper who just snatches wins from throughout the season is out. There's no way they can continue, but they have trundled on, and it's been really impressive. Have you seen much of Melsungen play, or like what has been your thoughts on this little run?
Particularly impressed with that win over Hannover, because that was a game where you would look back at it probably saying that's where they would have lost the title if they didn't get the points. An away match against another title contender where the other big teams have either beaten them or are going to beat them in Magdeburg's case. And Melsungen managed to come away with the win despite not playing at their very best. The defensive side of things has been very impressive. We talked about how literally everyone in that team loves to play in defense. Yeah. And players like Adrian Šipoš have just really stepped up again and against some tricky players in the Hannover game. And yeah, the patience in the attack has been the key thing for them, I reckon. It's been with Jonsson, Balenciaga and Kristopans, that they have 3 completely different types of players in terms of how they can hurt teams. And they just, when they trust themselves to keep that ball moving and keep waiting for the right opportunity, whether it's themselves in the backcourt using their great wingers or using the line players, which they can do very well as well, then they have proved to be very, very effective. And that was the key against Hannover. And yeah, I mean, I think they're basically given themselves as good a chance as they will have. They can't really complain too much about the bad run they had about a month ago. They managed to get through that, and now they look forward to the make or break game away against Berlin next Thursday, because that is the title decider. Really, if from Melsungen's point of view, because say they get away with a win there, then they're at home against Eisenach, at home against Lemgo, away against Potsdam.
That's fine.
There's your season. So this is the final hurdle. Is they have the European League finals this weekend, and then on Thursday they're going to the Max Schmeling-Halle for what is the title decider.
And they'll have the inspiration of 44-year-old Karsten Lichtlein in goals.
And now he's 45.
45. That's a wild, wild story. Again, coming out of the cryo chamber somewhere for an injured team. It's truly remarkable. He only came on for a little bit in the last game against Wetzlar with 1 save out of 8, but it's truly impressive.
He did help them win that quarterfinal in the European League.
Yes.
Had a massive performance. And coming as the goalkeeper coach, like what a wild card to be able to bring in. And also for Roberto Parando to convince him to do it as well. I don't know. Does he seem like maybe he doesn't need too much convincing in that case? Maybe he's still feels he's probably the kind of goalkeeper coach who gets stuck in training anyway and shows the guys how it's done sometimes. And what a story that is. Uncle against nephew next week in Niels Lichtlein versus Carsten Lichtlein.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that link.
Yes,
I didn't know
uncle and nephew. Yeah, wow. So it's that'll be a first, I think, in the Bundesliga. I'll have to ask Bjorn Patsen, but I think so.
Wow, yeah. So that's the big one for sure for the title. I think we'll do a full preview or review coming up to that game. But I think it's probably worth diving into our interview with Dainis Kristopans and hear how the season has gone for him, how his immaculate and wild, quirky career has turned out and led him to this big run-in for Melsungen.
Thanks for taking some time to have a chat before the weekend. I know it's particularly now a super busy schedule for you guys, but I have to say, we have the EHF Finals coming up this weekend. You're currently sitting joint top of the Bundesliga. I guess the atmosphere, the vibes are pretty good in Melsungen right now.
Yeah, actually, this is the last sprint for us. Situation is really difficult, so we have a really, really huge fight in Bundesliga, and and now is the EHF European League Final Four. So of course we want to fight, but this season is going like it's going. It's really difficult. We have a lot of injuries. The situation is not easy for us, and how I told, really nervous games, physical strong league, Bundesliga, and now we need to change a little bit our minds. And again, in 2 days, 2 matches, really difficult matches with serious opponents. So maybe this time we are taking from the mental side not so serious to not stress ourselves, because in the German Cup we were going through this, and now it's like, okay, it's top level. We will go. We'll try to enjoy finally, because now for sure we are not the main team. For sure we are a little bit the underdogs, and we will try.
That's interesting what you said there about trying to change the mentality a little bit, and I guess maybe try to enjoy it a little bit more. Is that the way to look at it, because of what's happening in the Bundesliga and the lessons you had from the German Cup? That you try not to put too much pressure on yourselves. Is that fair?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you mentioned there the injury problems, which seems to have hit you guys really, really hard for pretty much all season. And it felt like, about a month ago or so, maybe a little bit further back, that it was really on the edge of kind of falling apart for the team. You know, there were some results that weren't going your way. You felt quite short in terms of the amount of players you had available, but you managed to pull through that, which I think was really impressive. And the way that you've managed to survive really and stay on the top of the league is fantastic. What do you think was the key thing to make that happen, to keep going despite all of those injuries?
Yeah, if we are going a little bit back, what was happening, I think we are really strong mentally, and we are a really good team with a strong team spirit. If you look at the squad at the paper, maybe we don't have like so much stars or something like this, but I'm thinking that inside of the team we are doing really great job with coach, with the tactics, and with the spirit. We already showed everyone that we can fight against everyone. Of course, there are some issues, as we were speaking. Sometimes we don't have enough energy, or just the rotation is too short. The injuries this season, it's something crazy. But again, this is the season when we have more games, so maybe we were not prepared for 100% for this. There is less time for physical preparation, more time for traveling, more games. So for sure, after this season will be a lot of things to analyze for the coaches, for all the staff of the team. But again, we lose at Simic, our ball, what was the main support for our defense. And but from other side, Adam Morawski showed that he can go in the goal. He can help us a lot, and he's showing great results. So how I told, everything is possible. Really difficult. Yeah, he need to be strong now, especially mentally, like a goalie. Not easy. Not easy.
Not easy, but
Yeah.
I was covering that game, commentating the game against Hanover that you had, and it felt like the spirit of Naboisha was coming out of Adam, the way he was also reacting to the saves, and it felt like he was really taking a bit of his style into it as well, kind of keeping his memory, even though he can't be on the court with you at the moment, which is really beautiful to see. And I think it says a lot about the team as well, the way you all react together.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe sometimes there is a bad days, but in total, also like Adam is reacting, it's giving us energy and pushing us. So we are really doing great job with a lot of energy and with a lot of support.
I want to ask you a little bit about your journey as a handball player, because I think it's one of the most fascinating and unusual maybe journeys as well. A young man from Latvia at the age, I guess you were 18 going on 19 when you first went to Prešov to Slovakia, which is not the classic handball route by any means. Can you tell us a little bit about, what 18-year-old Dainis was like moving to Slovakia as a handball player and as a person?
It was last year in the school, so I tried few clubs just to go to make some checks, and they wanted to see me. And I was in Germany, I was in Slovakia, and I had option to go to Bundesliga at that time with the Bundesliga's newcomer. But I decided to go to Slovakia because at that moment they were playing Champions League, they were playing, I don't know, it was Slovakian League, and that moment I think it was Hungarian League. We started also to play, just to have more games. There was young team with a lot of young players, and I decided like this, and then then the career started. It was just like first year just to go there to see how it's working in the world, in the sports world, and if it doesn't work, I will go to study and live basic life, and if everything is okay, then I can stay longer.
What was your view of yourself as a handball player then? Because I can imagine, if they see someone like you at the age of 18, big man, powerful, big shot, left-handed as well. There's like all these checks. They're like, yes, these things are really good. This is a project we can build. But of course, besides that, you're a person, not just a project. But how did you see yourself as a player then, and like your development in those early years with Prešov?
Actually, I need to say I was maybe not so good, of course, and I was young, and I was totally without experience, and I needed to grow, and they needed to build me up. So I'm really thankful until today for work what the club did, and especially the coaches. Yeah, and it was step by step.
Yeah.
First of all, of course, I was playing some worse games or more controlled games that I can get some minutes. And first season it was like this, and then from next season I started to have more minutes. I started to play better. Also, the body, the kilos, the strength, the power was growing together with me, and it was step by step. It was not always like a super talent who just get the ball and he knows everything. No, no. It was a
Exactly.
lot of work inside. Yeah.
Can you remember any kind of time or season where it was like a turning point for you, where you thought, okay, this is, I'm getting it now. Things are clicking. I can be a star and not have to worry about, going back to Latvia and having the quiet life you talked about.
Okay, I was never thinking that I'm the star or something. The things started to go really good after first 2 years, I think. And I get my spot in the team. I know that I'm important, and if I'm important in this team, then I can be maybe important also in other teams. There were quite okay matches in Champions League, or some years it was like we call it now European League. Yeah, in that moment I understood that I would like to do it and continue with this after first 2 years, and yeah, I was really happy to get these emotions on the field. I know it that I can earn some money, I can live from the handball, and this was that point.
You had the move to Brest then, and then I think you really began to be on everybody's radar as a big goal scorer. You had a couple of good seasons there, and then before that or after then moving to Vardar, where it felt like there was almost a different dimension in you as a player that was unlocked, and a lot of people saw you as not just as someone who can be a presence physically and a great shooter, but also a great kind of tactician, and your assist giving became really a big part of your game. The playmaking side of you really started to show. Is that something that you felt yourself as well? Is there something in particular that helped bring that to the surface?
It was big change, first of all, for me. I was too long in Prussia, I think. It was 5.5 years. And then come my first change in career. And also the first year in Brest, it was not easy. It was, I was a little bit too low. I needed to catch the level of the team because there were already a lot of great players. So I needed to catch the level. So it takes some time, like half of the year, or even the first season was really like, okay, I need to be serious. I need to learn and grow up. And yeah, like step by step. The next season was really good. I was already in the level. I was playing with them in the same level, enjoying, and things were going good. Team was great,
Yeah.
and results also was great. Like club wanted to grow, and the results also was good.
I want to ask you about 2019 and that Final Four in Cologne as well with Vardar, which was an amazing weekend. The comeback against Barca, your performance in that final against Vesprem, where I think that side of you where you really became like a playmaker in that team alongside Igor Karacic. Also, you got your ass kicked as well, but you kept getting up. People were jumping on top of you nonstop. It was incredible to see how you managed to fight your way through all of that. An incredible team, and I guess the impact of Roberto Porondo on you and that group of players was already quite clear back in 2019.
It was something insane. It's really, really, really nice story, and I need to say, like, how we were preparing for this Final Four. We had 2 weeks, I think, preparation. First was more physical, and second week Roberto prepared it tactically. But tactic, like, I was surprised. We were preparing everything. If we are winning, if we are losing, if something happened, which players are playing, and what we will do in which situation. Yeah, the game against Barca, I know that the stress, we were not playing so bad, but the stress and some unlucky shots and posts, everything put us in the situation. But how I thought we were prepared for everything, and tactics worked, and just maybe Barca were thinking that they win already the game and little bit relax, and we use it. Yeah, we come back, and And as always in these Final Fours, in these tournament type finals, it's really difficult second day. It's about surviving your bodies. You have a lot of pain. You are so heavy, and and it was really difficult. I know we were fighting every minute for surviving just because there was no energy already. But also we were lucky because we had West Brom in group, and we had this prepared tactic against them. So we just needed to repeat it. And everything went really great. We had less pressure and stress for sure than West Brom.
Yeah.
More, and we were a team like underdogs. Just went there. Okay, we will go to play.
You know, the contrast with that you mentioned with West Brom, the pressure, like from there, obviously there was the financial issues with Vardar. You had a little time in Berlin as well before going to PSG, where I guess the atmosphere in that sense was quite different, right? A little bit of maybe the pressure of West Brom, where there's the expectation that the team should reach the top. And I think you know as well as anybody for all your years playing in the Champions League that you don't just qualify for Final Four, that it's not that straightforward. And then even when you qualify, it's not that, straightforward to win it. But still, it seemed like you were having a major impact in PSG in Paris at the time. So what was the motivation for you to, after all these years in the Champions League, to take a very different project, to go to Melsungen and to jump into the Bundesliga with a team that is trying to fight its way up?
Yeah, actually, I could stay in Paris, and but I wanted it to change. I was a little bit tired of this kind of let's say against pressure, because in this club, you need to win everything, and it's really difficult. 1 year, second year, then third year, and again, it's top level club, but I didn't feel so free in there, and I wanted a little bit this freedom. And then we started to speak with Melsungen, and I know that Roberto is here, and I wanted to know the situation. And for me, it was really perspective project, ambitious project. And in the moment when I signed the contract, nobody believed me, especially some teammates who were before in Germany. They told you did mistake, and
Why exactly? What, because of the club or because of the physical? Okay,
it's Melsungen, it's a club who is not fighting for the Champions League spot, or it's not a good idea. The Bundesliga is maybe not so good. It's difficult league, and so we had some discussion fight, and then they thought that I did mistake, and but I really believe it in the project, and I was satisfied to maybe go a little bit lower, to again be this underdog, and it's totally different. It's totally different feeling, and I really enjoyed, especially the last season when we reached the goal of the club, and this season again probably we will reach the minimum goal, and it's something great when you are growing every season and you are not in the top, and if some small things, bad things happening, you are always sad because you are in the top and you want to reach just the top. Now here is like you are growing, going step by step, and every step is huge emotions. Everybody is lucky. You feel it in the club, everywhere around, the fans. So it's really great just to play for this feeling.
You mentioned it there, the way that people look at or used to look at the club, definitely before, is maybe, despite throwing all the money at it, never getting that breakthrough, and being maybe in some cases like almost a bit of an inside joke in handball. But the last 2 seasons have been completely different, and that must be a real source of pride to be, a key part in that, to bring the team up to where they'd hope to be for many years, and also for the fans to be delivering for them. It's incredible.
Exactly, yeah. And you see it around what is happening. And the first day when I came here, and it's slowly changing, of course, with ups and downs, and not every day is the celebration day. How I told, we had worse days, worse games and everything. But if we look in the total, until we are going up and everything is working, we are happy and we can be proud.
You mentioned the underdogs there earlier, which has been a common part of your journey. Also with the Latvian team as well, helping them to qualify for the Euro back in 2020 and playing with them. But what's your relationship now at the moment with the Latvian national team? Because we haven't seen you in the jersey for a while.
From the moment when the generation changed, or there is really, really a lot of young players, and normally there is a lot of sons of the players, who I was playing together in the national team, So there was a huge generation change, and I didn't want to take the space from the young players and the minutes, and because we don't have now so much games, just the qualifications. I suppose that only I will not change the result. I can change maybe some goal difference, but for sure not in total the result. And to take these minutes for some young players that they can learn, get some experience, and maybe to shine a little bit, like now the new right back from the national team. He shined, and I can imagine if I go to the last 3 years to national team and playing 50 minutes, that he will not get on the field.
Sure.
So this was my idea. Not everyone agreed with it, and not everybody understood it from the beginning. But now I see that it was a good decision for me. Yeah.
I guess also for your body, now that you're playing Bundesliga as well, it helps to have that week off, every now and then, to be able to prepare and to keep yourself going for as long as possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, there is more time for recovery. You don't travel so much in this week, and this week it can be really useful.
So we mentioned a little bit about the final tournament that's happening this weekend at the beginning. So it's a very teams that you know very well. 2 other German teams in Kiel and Flensburg, and then Montpellier, who I guess you still know quite a bit of the team from your PSG days. What do you make of them as opposition? What are your thoughts going into the weekend about your opponents?
Maybe it's not Champions League Final Four, but let's say the level is not quite low. It's somewhat lower, but really close. So really serious teams, and we have some experience against the Flensburg and Kiel from Bundesliga. Like what I can say against Flensburg, they get a lot of changes this season, the coaches and the tactics, and now they had few injuries, but okay, I think they're playing quite good now, and they have good self-confidence. It's Final Four, it's 60 minutes, everything is possible. So yeah, I think it can be really good games.
You've had some experience with Final Four events with the team in the German Cup. You, of course, know how it works in Cologne at the Final Four. What do you think needs to go well for Melsungen this weekend for things to work out? I mean, it's always small details, it feels like. But what do you think are the advantages that you need to bring from your side?
So just comparing to Final Four of the German Cup, we cannot be so much stressed, because this is the biggest our enemy of my experience, and of course tactics and how it will be good in defense, and difficult to say. We just need to go there, be ready to fight, and do everything what we need, like coach is saying, and preparing us.
You've got a good coach for that as well, as you mentioned, to prepare the tactical side. That's the Spanish advantage, I guess, right? Dainis, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to chat with you. Have a safe trip up to Hamburg, and have a great weekend up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you to Dainis for that. Very nice interview, very insightful, very honest as well about his whole career. 16 years playing abroad now as well. And the kind of recurring theme of that interview, I think we touched upon it as well, was that he really likes to be the underdog, which is funny for such a big man who overlooks everyone. But his greatest moments, whether it's qualifying for a Euro with Latvia, winning the Champions League with Vardar, leaving PSG for Melsungen because he preferred to be an underdog and to build something instead of having that kind of the expectation of victory all the time seems to suit him down to the ground. And although they are the highest ranked Bundesliga team of the three heading into this weekend in the EHF Finals in the European League, he sees themselves as underdogs heading into this as well.
I think so. And obviously, because Melsungen have never won a title,
at all.
At all. Never as a club.
They have a chance to fix it this weekend. They have a couple of chances to fix it over the next week, basically. How do you see them heading into this European League Finals weekend? Flensburg they face in the semi-final. Kiel and Montpellier in the other semi-final. Maybe first a little bit on Melsungen and Flensburg. It's an interesting one because Flensburg, it feels like in the European League, are like a completely different team.
Yeah, they've sailed through the European League, and it's felt like this is their focus. They've got nothing left now for Flensburg, but their overall form has been relatively poor. I think that the loss against Rhein-Neckar Leuven in the league was again just a highlight of the challenges, and for them as well, losing Simon Putlik it's what kind of derailed their full season. Like that they couldn't mount the challenge that they were probably hoping for without him. And when you have Mads Menzel Larsson going from 1 from 7, you're probably not in the best position. I suppose it's kind of there's a bit of experience. A lot of these Flensburg players have been there. Melsungen, on the other hand, are still new to this, as Kristopans said in the interview. They felt a lot of pressure in that German Final Four, and it kind of overtook them, I suppose. How do you avoid that? It's hard. Like, you can say don't put pressure on yourself, but I think that they really want something out of this season, and I think the European League is probably the more likely solution here. Although you don't know from a matchup perspective, I like Flensburg. Like, they're reliant on the backcourt shooting of one player, as in whoever that player is, whether it's Lasse Muller or Mads Menzel Larsson. Jim Gottfriedson has not been good still. I don't know if you saw Jim Gottfriedson came out and gave Nikolai Krikow a verbal broadside in a German Handball magazine, and really shit on him. Basically, said that Nikolai Krikow was the reason why he left Flensburg. Jim's suggestions were not taken into consideration, so Nikolai came in with his own ideas, and in Jim's words, kind of pretended to listen to Gottfriedson, but never implemented anything that he suggested, and it led to a very grumpy Jim Gottfriedson, and both the coach and the player leaving the club. And apparently the contract extension discussions were on the table. They weren't. It wasn't a decision that he made like before the start of the season to leave Flensburg. Right. It was. The contract extension was being discussed, and with the disagreement with Krikow, he basically looked elsewhere. And I don't know, Diem hasn't been in form. I think he's almost given up on the season, but we know that he's a big tournament player, big game player, so can turn it up. So I really, all of that is to say, like, Flensburg are still a bit of a mess. Melsungen are probably more sure in where they are as a club, but yeah, I still can't pick between them.
The head-to-head, even even recently has been in Flensburg favour. Melsungen have only won 2 matches out of 40 between the two teams. So in that sense, they do have the historical head-to-head, but I think that the last game between them was in March, just like kind of around the peak of things going to shit for Melsungen. In that sense, it's hard to make too many inferences from that. I would say, talking about that clash of styles you mentioned with Flensburg's reliance in the backcourt, that's something that Melsungen can deal with quite well. Yeah. I think they are actually quite fortunate with Moravsky in goal, because he's a guy who reads those long-range shooters quite well. That was key in terms of wrapping up Runner Suschins. And so if he can do it against him and his centre block can do it against Flensburg as well without their best long-range shooter. And yeah, I think it comes down to what Dainis said. If they can kind of enjoy the weekend, look at it with a bit of familiarity of like, okay, we could face 2 Bundesliga teams this weekend. Teams that we are ahead of in the league. Like, there's a lot of mental positives in this, and even if it all goes to shit, they have next week to focus on as well. So I think they will come into this kind of a little bit with the weight of expectation not on their shoulders so much. Whereas for Flensburg, I think, as you said, it's all they have now this season, and all they have to give their season some kind of meaning in the end. It kind of has the feeling of yesterday, the Europa League final in football between Spurs and United. That could be Kiel versus Flensburg on Sunday in the final if it comes to that. But I would slightly have Melsungen ahead there in my mind.
And how exciting would this Final Four be if there was a Champions League place on the line?
Exactly. That would be astonishing.
You have in Montpellier, Kiel, Flensburg, 3 teams that are probably not going to make it to the Champions League. Melsungen, of course, in a pretty good position, but still uncertain. Yeah. But it would make this Final Four just mean so much more in the same way as the Europa League or in football, except slightly better quality than Man United and Spurs.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, no, that would be astonishing if there was a Champions League spot on the line. But I think that's something we've made clear in the past. That would be good to have. Montpellier and Kiel, repeat of that astonishing quarterfinal from last year. It feels longer ago when Kiel had to win by 10 at home against Montpellier just to get to the Final Four, and they did exactly that. But Montpellier riding high on the back of beating PSG after a penalty shootout in the French Cup final last weekend. So for them, I think they're probably feeling very good about knockout handball right now.
Yeah, that was really remarkable. First title for Montpellier in quite a while since basically PSG's reign started. They've been mopping up all the domestic trophies, and it was 20 penalty shots between the two teams into sudden death. And Montpellier themselves have they turned a corner? I'm not sure, but they really are firing. Ahmed Hesham is playing really out of his socks for them, and he's been the difference maker. He's leaving them at the end of the season, of course, going to the Egyptian contingent in Veszprém. But this one is again a complete toss-up. I'll always root for Montpellier because we don't want another German European League winner. Maybe that's harsh. They are absolutely the best clubs and the best league, but you gotta give it to the non-German team in these.
The matchup in styles hasn't changed too much to last year as well, which kind of makes this just as exciting, because we saw over the course of a week 2 matches where one team absolutely hammered the other. Now it's on neutral ground, even though it's just down the road for Kiel, so maybe they have the nod there. But Kiel coming into this like completely lacking in self-confidence. I don't know how much of that game you saw against Potsdam last week, where they managed to just get over the line. After that, Philipp Jicha said, I think a lot of the guys' heads are already focused on Hamburg on the final weekend.
That would have been my read of it. Like, I think, Potsdam, it's one of those games where you just assume you're going to win, and they're probably focused on preserving themselves a little bit. And so I'm not too worried about that result with Potsdam.
Yeah. Where do you see it going? What's your tip then for the final? And who's going to win the whole thing?
It's a classic one. I always have a soft spot for Montpellier in my heart. But Kiel have been pretty good for a while now. They failed in some of their big games. They had that run where they lost against Melsungen, Flensburg and Füchse Berlin, and that kind of knocked them out of the Bundesliga challenge, or at least the Champions League challenge. But they proved it that they are still winners with the German Cup Final Four. I think if the two boys, Madsen and Johansson, are firing, they can beat anyone. Like, if they actually get those two guys firing, I think they can beat anyone. So I do see Kiel actually coming out on top here. It feels right for them, and it would be a very funny season. 2 trophies. But yeah, so I think they'll take Montpellier. Honestly, this whole, anyone can win this whole Final Four. But I see Kiel beating, who are they going to beat? They're going to beat Flensburg in the final. That would be fun. That would be fun.
That'd be fun. I think that it's either that final or Melsungen versus Montpellier. I want to see, like, those two complete opposites. And I think both are potentially just as likely as one another. I've always found it really hard to know how these teams are going to be up for that weekend as well. And I think the biggest question mark here is over Melsungen, in that sense, like how much they can balance what they're going to be doing this weekend and basically a title decider on Thursday. So it could be an absolute curse for them, or it could completely free them up, and we're going to see some beautiful handball. Either way, it should be fun to watch, and we will be reacting to it next week, as well as looking forward to the women's Final Four, which is happening the following weekend. Anything else you want to cover here before we wrap up?
I suppose the last point is just Andy Wolf is the best goalkeeper in this Final Four. And that is, we've talked about it, and I was just recounting the Champions League Final Four 2 years ago, where I was interviewing players as they were coming off the court in Cologne, and I was awaiting this was when Wolf was on Kielce, of course. I was awaiting the Magdeburg players, and the first person that came up was an absolutely distraught Andy Wolf, and I had to somehow get a couple of questions on live stream with him, and I wasn't even ready for it. I didn't think. Someone brought me over a distraught Andy Wolf, and following our little interview, he went around the corner and slumped down in the hallway as he lost another Final Four with Kielce. So I want him to win something. I think he deserves it.
I feel like there's no in between with Andy Wolf. Either he's distraught or he's jubilant. There's never like a normal Andy Wolf. It is one or another. So that leads me also to believe that Kiel will not be competing in the third place playoff. They're either going to be distraught after losing a final or absolutely jubilant after winning one. We'll find out. And also a quick shout out to our Patreon, of course, if people want to sign up now as we barrel into the end of the season. Another good reason to do that is because we are, Alex, officially the top handball podcast in the world, according to FeedSpot. Thank you for that lovely bit of news we received the other day. So, we'll take it. Also, according to Good Pods, one of the top sports news podcasts as well. So all the good news flying in. I'll jump on board if you haven't already for our build-up to the Final Fours coming up.